Connor,
Nick.
welcome to the show. Thanks for
Thank you
sitting
so
down
much.
with me today.
Of course.
First, I know you guys just launched, so I want to give you the opportunity to share a little bit about what's going on there and the website launch.
Yeah, so a little bit about myself. My name is Connor Griggs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Tropical Tundra. And Tropical Tundra is the first apparel brand dedicated to protecting the rainforest. So we partnered with Rainforest Foundation US to give a product-based solution to saving the rainforest. So every shirt that you purchase protects 1 hectare of rainforest for 1 year. And been doing this for a couple of years, and it's been going great. We just launched the website September 1st, so it's been about 10 days. Things are going awesome, and super excited. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining me. Interesting path you've taken, just knowing a little bit of context around like your career so far and where you're at right now. So if I'd love it for you to go back to like, even just when you were in college or coming out of high school, like what you were thinking through for life, where you wanted to go, and then ultimately the career path that you went down.
Yeah, so in my early years, I was always very creative, and I was always this kid that was kind of drawing logos. And I look back, it's just so funny because I was able to just look at my old like box of memories, right? And I was always drawing things. I was always sketching. I was always doodling, and it just kind of, it's almost like fate kind of led me into creating some type of creative clothing brand. And I always felt like there was something kind of bigger ahead. So yeah, I started in high school, really not sure what I wanted to do. I originally wanted to do graphic design, but I realized that there wasn't too much career opportunity just in the field of graphic design. So I ended up getting into business and went to enrolling at Minnesota State University, Mankato, starting off in business and then falling in love with the sciences. And I did an undergrad in biomedical science and ended up doing a master's in medical device regulations following my dad's footsteps. I'm kind of a little bit on the nerdy side. I like to understand how things work. I like to understand processes, and I love the human body.
Me too.
So yeah, I ended up doing that, and then it got to I think it was like my 4th year in regulatory affairs. So I started my own medical device consulting agency, and I just realized like in my heart of hearts that it just wasn't for me. I was making really good money, but there was just something in me that just was not being fulfilled. And maybe it was my creativity, because when you're working for somebody and you're working through these procedures, you're kind of in this box and your creativity is very limited and you can't really break out of that box. And I just had this like fire inside of me to create something of my own. Then I came up with Tropical Tundra. So.
It's so interesting to me because like knowing just that backstory and how creative it sounds like you were and you still are. It's interesting that you went into such like a regulated industry. And I think maybe you tapped into your creative side with running a business and a consultancy in that field.
Right.
But it's just kind of fascinating to me that because there's so many different boxes that you have to check for other people in that industry before you get to do like what you want to do. And it's probably for good reason that there's so many obstacles you need to get through in the medical device industry. But I'm glad that you're now able to express your creative side freely with what you're doing now.
And it's pretty funny because your creative side is going to come breaking out.
So share a little bit more. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like regulatory affairs, medical devices, very clean cut. And just my inner creativity was just coming outside of me. I just started getting all these tattoos, and there was just no hiding who I truly was anymore. It just came out. It's bound to happen.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well,
so could you share a little bit about like the story behind where's that purpose? Because you're a part of a purpose-driven company now, and
Yes.
where does that purpose come from? Like, have you always been fascinated by the rainforest, or like why the rainforest? Why do you want to help that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this all started during I went to South America and I had a spiritual awakening. And
Interesting.
it was very profound. That's the only word I can really use to describe it. I was kind of going down the wrong path, and I was doing a lot of drugs, and just my life was spiraling down. And I ended up going through this breakup and trying to get this girl back. She wanted nothing to do with me, didn't want to hear about it. I screwed up the relationship. I take full responsibility. And so I just had this huge kind of an ego death, realizing that what I was doing wasn't making me happy, wasn't making anybody around me happy. And I had to make some serious changes. So I like to think that fate called me down to do ayahuasca in Colombia, Medellin, Colombia. I go down there with 4 of my buddies, and we had a spiritual awakening. If you don't know anything about ayahuasca, it's this sacred plant medicine ceremony. You drink this cup of liquid. It's composed of a DMT and some other like MOA inhibitors to allow the slow digestion of they call it the spirit molecule. And I had a spiritual awakening, and during my connection, something spoke to me to save nature. And I've been doing it ever since. It was so profound that I never stopped chasing it, because I know exactly what was told for me to do.
Interesting. And when was that? Like,
so that was that was May 2018. And
okay.
I encourage everybody to look into what the heck is ayahuasca, because there's tons of healing effects. In addition, if you have any questions about your spirituality, a lot of times they can be answered through the ceremony. It just sounds crazy for me to go into the details, but in summary, majority of people have a very similar type of not circumstance, experience, where they tap into something much more deeper, profound than what they currently know exists, and they are able to kind of pop out of the bubble of your consciousness, look back at all the patterns and everything you've been doing in life, and be able to make pivots. And I realized that I was in an unhealthy pattern, and I had to pivot. And so I was able to make that productive change for myself. So.
Super interesting. So it sounds like when you went down there was just like a hard stop. Like your mind was just opened up. And the few months before that, or maybe it was years before that, there was like this slow, like downward spiral of things not going the way you wanted in your life, and you were just becoming increasingly less happy with who you were and what you're doing. And as you mentioned, your ego was dying. Coming out of that spiritual awakening that you had, did everything just automatically change for you, or did you have to come back up a spiral? I'll call it a spiral staircase, if you will, to get to where you want to be.
That's a really good question. So it's a process. So I like to think of the ego death as the return back to the true self. And your ego, you got your ego over here, and then you have your true self over here, and the space in between that is whatever you created for yourself. Like it's like, oh, hey, Connor, I'm this respectable medical device guy. I can do regulations and quality systems and write procedures and all that. And that, that was all just, and it still is a part of me. And I still have so much appreciation for that skill set, because I'm bringing that into Tropical Tundra. I'm able to scale it, create all these great processes for it. There's value to it, but it just wasn't me. That's not exactly what I wanted to do. And And yeah, when with an ego death, it's like painful, but it's also like birth, you know, just like what we're seeing right now with the whole George Floyd thing that happened in our backyard, right? Like, you can look at it and say, oh my God, this is like, it's the worst thing. It's painful, and play this victim role about where we're at in society. Or you can look at it and say, okay, this is the birth of something new. It's ugly right now, but something good is going to happen out of this. And that's kind of what you got to treat, going your own path in life, is that, hey, it might be painful. You might have to give up a certain part about yourself. And for me, I think it was respectability that I built up this thing about myself. Like, I need to be this respectable medical device guy, guru. But for me to let that go, it just really, it was tough. And I think we as people just need to understand that you can reinvent yourself at any time. It doesn't matter about what people think about you. You got to put all that aside and say, okay, this is what I want to do with my life. Put your head down and make it happen. Yeah, manifest it.
That is incredible. That's so good advice. And I'm gonna clip that and share it with the whole world as fast as I can. I do want to talk about Tropical Tundra a little bit more.
Okay.
And I'd love to hear about like how you're funding it, and what different products you're putting out there, what differentiates you from other apparel companies.
I would love to talk about that.
What's your roadmap looking like?
Yeah. Okay, so
all right, let's do it.
Yeah, so it all started self-funded. I took out my 401k to begin with. I was like, hey, I don't need this. I'm going to create my own 401k, and it's going to be through my e-commerce website. So when you look at it, every single product, I'm going to turn off my computer volume. So what I was getting at was, every single product that you have on your website, that's an asset. You know, I have 30 products on my website right now that that can be printed and ordered on demand for me. That's an asset. I can take those products with me for the rest of my life. And this is actually one of them. So I'm doing casual shirts too. So back to your question, it started off self-funded, pulled out like 20K of my 401k, said goodbye to that. And then I had about $7,000 saved up, and then I took out about $15,000 in credit. And I made some mistakes. Like when money is free flowing and you have money coming in at a rapid rate, you don't spend it that wisely. And I was outsourcing things I shouldn't have outsourced. I was buying things that just didn't make sense. I bought this I'm buying equipment that I didn't necessarily need or use. And so it's almost good for you to hit a point in your business where money is tight, because you are learning some serious lessons. You're like, hey, I should not be spending this money on this iPad. I have my MacBook. I don't need it. And just because it was like this graphic design tool that I wanted to use one of those little pencil things and do my graphic design. I had never used it. I spent $1,000 on a piece of equipment that I had never used. So there's just these little tiny lessons that you will learn because of the pressure, the financial pressure that you're put under. And then when you think about it, it's like, okay, if I did have more money, I would have still been making these stupid habits of buying things, buying subscriptions, outsourcing things that I didn't really need. When you're starting off with a business, you need to be so specific about how you're spending that money, because it's not going to be there. And as this business progressed, I ended up going out to Bali, buying $2,000 of samples, bringing one of my buddies who's a videographer to Bali. We go there, we have this dream that we're going to build this website out there. We're going to be doing all this great content out there, and it's going to go viral. It's going to blow up, and I'm going to be a success. And oh my God, it's going to happen. We're going to save the rainforest. And we go out there, and it was we did not execute. For financial constriction reasons, we didn't jive very well. Ended up splitting up with my business partner. All this crazy stuff ended up happening while we're out in Bali, and I came back just a big financial hole in my pocket, and trying to catch up on everything that I needed to do for the business. So in summary, if you're going to be doing like this really great marketing trip, do not go out there to build a business, go out there with a working business and then go out do your marketing trip. But it's just, yeah, lots of mistakes, man. And that's the fun part, is just like entrepreneurship is just like, it's like a battlefield. And in the words of Phil Knight from Shoe Dog, it's war without bullets. And I stand behind that, because it like you are going to be put in circumstances, stresses, that you never thought that you were going to, situations that you never thought you were going to be put in. And but you know, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit, you wouldn't have it any other way. So
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of it, like for me, why I enjoyed doing this stuff is probably a lot of the same reasons that you. I just really enjoy creative things. I'm by no means a graphic designer, and I like if somebody handed me a piece of paper and told me to draw a person or a horse or something, you'd get a stick figure. But my mind just like I love music, I love art, I love all these different creative things. And so I guess this is like my way of expressing what I want to do with the world and what I want the world to see. So I think,
you know what your
I don't know,
spirit
it's always been fun, and it's really enjoyable. No, but I feel like you'd be the guy that would be able to help me figure out what my spirit animal is.
might be the guy.
How do I figure that out? Do I just pick an animal and roll with it, or what's the deal?
Do you see any particular animals in your dreams?
Oh.
And then I would go by geography. Are you land? Are you sea? Are you aerial? Are you in the ground? Think about where that animal might be.
Okay.
So the reason why I asked is because I know two people that do podcasts, and both their spirit animals are jellyfish, because they use their tentacles to bring people together.
Really?
Yeah. So look into the
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Look into the meaning
I will.
of jellyfish totem, and that's one thing about tropical tundra too. I want everybody in the world to know what their spirit animal is, and to have a platform to be able to protect the home of that spirit of that animal. That's one thing. So in the future, I envision doing like bracelets that protect, that donate to that particular animal. So like from the tropics to the tundra, you can save the soul of the animal that's part of you. I'd say that's one thing.
Really cool.
I have a lot of different ideas, but that's definitely one that I'm going to be executing.
Really cool. And yeah, jellyfish, man. I was telling you about the trip I just took, but while we were in North Carolina, somebody there were probably 10 bullet jellyfish. I don't know if you know what a bullet jellyfish is, but it's just it looks like a jellyfish. I don't know. It goes back and forth. It kind of looks like a bullet. Or no, it's cannon. Maybe it's cannon jellyfish. I think it might be cannon jellyfish.
Yep.
And the guy's like, you want to hold one of them? And I'm like, sure. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but sure. And he just casts his line out and he just hooks the jellyfish. He brings it up, and we were just holding the jellyfish. I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is a jellyfish.
It is sweet. Yeah. And you just
really
held
cool.
a jellyfish recently.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like a week ago.
Interesting. Yeah. Look into the meaning of that.
Yeah.
That animal.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep.
Well, cool. What else? How are you feeling? Like, knowing 2018 you had a spiritual awakening, now you're doing what it seems like you want to do. Are you in a better spot in life? Where is your mind at right now?
Yeah. I mean, my vision is crystal clear. I know exactly where I'm going. Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing in life is to have purpose and to have a calling. As humans, we need something more than just our financial the, okay, so there's a lot of values that we have as human beings, and you have to have more than just some of them fulfilled. You want to be well-rounded. And I think the biggest piece for any human being walking on this earth is like, you got to know why the hell you're here. And you got to know what you want to do in your life. And if you can't answer that question, if you're showing up every single day, 9 to 5, donating 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for something that you're uncertain about, you got to make a change. And if there's anything that anybody can get out of this video chat, it's that you do not want to wake up when you're 40 years old realizing that you are living a life that is not serving you, that what hasn't been serving you. You can't ignore yourself. If something inside of you is screaming to do something different, you got to answer that call. And I just encourage anybody who ever sees this to really be true to yourself, look at yourself in the eye, and answer the question, like, is this what I want to do?
Great. I think we ended on that. I mean, we got like 5 minutes left on the calendar invite, but I think we ended right on that, Connor.
Cool.
I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Before we go though, I do have one last question for you about marketing that I'd like to ask. So it's about white space. So what is one area, or what's one thing that you've done marketing wise that's been really, really successful that not a lot of people have done or aren't aware of?
I'm executing a viral marketing strategy at the moment, where I am building about 40 Instagram accounts that I'm going to be using to amplify a community of people interested in travel and adventure. So it's like a brand amplification strategy that I'm executing, but I don't want to say too much about that. But I spend a lot of time on Instagram, and I know a guy who specializes in viral marketing, and his reach is like 28 million. And so I'm just going to follow that recipe.
Wow. Well, I think I'd love to talk to you about that offline.
Yeah. We can talk about that offline.
Really cool. Well, Connor, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time to let me interview today.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Friday, so have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too. I'm glad we finally got to connect.